Yo, Cultural Confederates! Welcome back to the channel. Cultural Confederacy here. It's Sunday night, so happy Sunday, everybody. And I've got a question here. Why are we in Syria? Why are we getting involved with this conflict in Syria? So if you haven't heard by now, you had this, well, it's an affiliate of Al-Qaeda, known as the HTS. It's the Hamid al-Shir Abib Halib, whatever name they give themselves, Islamic faction that took out the Assad regime, this dictatorship. And they're saying it's going, according to CNN here, giving a glowing account of this. It's going to be a new day in Syria. And here we are, the United States, as always, right on cue, sending over our fighter jets. Now, the aim here is to keep ISIS at bay, to keep them from spreading in Syria, taking advantage of this situation in Syria. But we should not be getting involved with this, and Trump is 100% correct. He talked about this on Truth Social today. But what I really want to talk about is George Washington's farewell address back in 1796, and he warned against this, getting involved in these foreign entanglements. Now, just to give you a taste of this is what he said. By the way, if you're new to the channel, no fancy graphics, epic soundtracks, pretty boy camera angles. It's you, me, my smartphone, the news of the day, and this mission, this crusade to preserve great art, music, history, and culture. But he said, quote, "The nation which indulges toward another in habitual hatred or habitual fondness is in some degree a slave." So if we show animosity towards another country or another region, some foreign entity, and we are so focused on that we get into a conflict with that foreign agency or country, region, we are bound for our own destruction. We are slave to that. Same if we show a blind allegiance to a particular country, entity, region, you name it. We're not going to get any type of benefit from being involved in these foreign conflicts. It's going to basically bankrupt us. That's what it's going to do. And he also warned against these political factions in the United States, Republicans, Democrats. Let's say it's the Green Party or the Blue Party. Now, at the time, 1796, now he published this in a newspaper article, his farewell address. But at the time, you had the Federalist, formation of the Federalist, and you had the Anti-Federalist, basically. So the Federalists supported Washington, and you had the Anti-Federalists, the Jeffersonians, who for the most part opposed Washington's policies. But both agreed that we should not be involved in this, at the time, growing conflict between England and France, the French Revolutionary Wars. But Trump was 100% correct today, going on Truth Social and saying that we need to stay out of Syria. This idea of spreading democracy across the globe, there's nothing in the Constitution that requires that. There's nothing in the Constitution that talks about having political parties, requiring us to have political parties. So why do we have them? Why, if the Constitution does not require us to have political parties, why do we have them? If the Constitution does not require us to spread democracy across the globe, why are we getting involved in these foreign conflicts? It's the military-industrial complex. And I believe it was Ben Hoffman who was on Fox News today when he was asked about this. I think he's part of CENTCOM, or at one time was part of CENTCOM. He said, well, we have to protect our interest. Anytime you hear that, anytime you hear it, you know it talks about money, these foreign investments, these government contracts. Well, nobody asked me to vote on this, us getting involved with this conflict in Syria. I don't think that any conflict that the United States gets involved with should be carried out unless the American people vote on it first. Period. The American people should have the final say because this is our government. These people in the government, they work for us. Now, I have the greatest respect for people in the military. And I'm not talking about people here who are on the ground. I'm not talking about the troops on the ground, people doing the hard work every day. I'm talking about the top brass here. The people at CENTCOM who feel that it's their mission to go spread democracy. When again, there's nothing in the Constitution that requires that. But what do? We go and we get involved with these conflicts overseas. And every time we do, we get burned. We get screwed over. And it seems like we never learn our lesson from it. So this is what Trump said on social media, Trump's Truth Social. Trump Social. He should call it Trump Social. But this is what he said on Truth Social. Syria is a mess, but it is not our friend, and the United States should have nothing to do with it. This is not our fight. Let it play out. Do not get involved. 100% correct. Let Syria duke it out on its own. Because you see, when you put in place an embargo or you cut off the trade, the immigration to these countries that are engaged in terrorist activity or what have you, you have these conflicts. Whatever the party is, once you cut off the trade, the immigration, you put in place an embargo, you crush the infrastructure of that country. Which means they have no money. Now, they might have some money coming in from other sources, but it's not going to be enough to keep them going. I mean, it could be. There's a possibility that they have enough funding from somewhere else, but more likely than not, you're going to keep things at bay if you stop the immigration, stop the trade, put in place an embargo. You say, enough's enough. We're not doing business with you unless you get your act together. That's the stance that the United States should take. I don't know why you people at CENTCOM and the United States government don't have the balls to do that. Well, we have to spread democracy. Again, it goes back to spreading democracy. When we aren't a democracy, we're a federal republic. Confederation of States said that before. So CNN's glowing assessment of this. You got to listen to this. This is a real scream here. So this takeout of Assad. Now, Trump also did this. He went after Obama today on Truth Social, calling him out for his inaction during 2013 when Assad killed 1,400 of his own people with chemical weapons. Then he denied it. Remember this red line? So what we're seeing play out here, is we're seeing what George Washington warned against back in 1796, having these political factions get involved in these foreign entanglements. But here's the article, part of the article at CNN. Abu Muhammad al-Jilani's road to Damascus has been long. He has talked openly about his change along the way, from young al-Qaeda fighter 2 decades ago to a rebel commander espousing sectarian tolerance. It's a journey along which he has had plenty of time to plan where he and how he would mark his arrival and to fine-tune his narrative, his message for those who put him in power, those who might bring him down, and others who can keep him in power. And this seems to be the story of the Middle East. This constant power play. They have a dictator in power. He gets taken out by some type of faction or regime. These Islamist extremists who are part of, let's say, al-Qaeda, you name it, ISIS. It is no surprise that the Islamist rebel chose Damascus's venerated Umayyad Mosque. I think that's how you say it. It's Umayyad. Not a TV studio, nor newly absenteed presidential palace, but a place of towering religious significance, which at 1,300 years old is one of the world's most ancient mosques to deliver that message. And this is what Muhammad said. Let me see, last name again. I can't remember the name of these people. They all seem to have the same last name. It's like Abdul Muhammad, Muhammad Al-Jilani, Tariq Bahib, you name it. And they're all corrupt. You know they're corrupt. Quote, this victory, my brothers, notice the language here. They always say, my brothers, my sisters. It's going to be a new day, a new dawn in Syria. This victory, my brothers, is a victory for the entire Islamic nation. A victory for the entire Islamic nation. And this message was to all those who had taken him to power and propelled his Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, that's the name of the group, the HTS fighters, at starting speed across Syria, at startling speed, across Syria to oust President Bashir al-Assad. This victory, my brothers, by the grace of God Almighty, follows the sacrifices of the martyrs, the widows, and the orphans. This victory, my brothers, has come through the suffering of those who endured imprisonment. It's going to be a new day in Syria. So this is what George Washington had to say in his farewell address about all this. And at the time, they were dealing with these pirates on the open seas, these Muslim pirates, other groups that were taking over ships, get involved in the illegal slave trade. This was affecting the price of goods, interfering with international trade at the time. So he says this: Europe has a set of primary interests, lots to read tonight, so just bear with me, which to us has none or a very remote relation. Hence she must be engaged in frequent controversies, the cause of which are essentially foreign to our concerns. And therefore it must be unwise in us to implicate ourselves by artificial ties in the ordinary vicissitudes of our politics or the ordinary combinations and collisions of our friendships and enmities. That's a really hard word to say, enmities, not a word we generally use today. And a lot of this language is somewhat heavy, so to speak. But this was the language of the time. Our detached and distant situation invites and enables us to pursue a different course. If we remain one people under an efficient government, the period is not far off when we may defy material injury from external annoyance. We may take such an attitude and will cause the neutrality we may at any time resolve upon to be scrupulously respected. When belligerent nations, under the impossibility of making acquisitions upon us, will not lightly hazard the giving us provocation. We may choose peace or war as our interests guided by justice shall counsel. So it's in our best interest to stay neutral. It's in our best interest to trade at our arm's length, not get involved in these foreign entanglements. What George Washington warned about in 1796, we're seeing play out now. It's time for us to get back to our roots as Americans and focus on the homeland. And when we get attacked, that's when you step in. That's when you go after these violent regimes. But we should not be sending our fighter jets, once again, on taxpayers' dime here. We should not be sending our fighter jets and our military over there, putting boots on the ground in a place like Syria. Let these people duke it out on their own. That's the best thing you can do. Let these people duke it out on their own. So I want to talk about this tonight. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Do you think we should be involved in Syria? Is this benefiting us? So if you enjoyed the video, you know what to do. You can follow me at Instagram, #JasonComposes, because I write music in my spare time. You can also find me at Substack or go to X, Culture Confederacy at Culture Confed1 on X. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. I'll catch you next time, and y'all have a great Sunday. Take care.